Who am I? Like, where are they now? Uh, a while back, someone made a donation to the page and asked if I would do this. And I always wanted to do it. So I had suggested that I would do it one day. That I would go ahead and, without of a shadow of a doubt, you know, make a video about Brandon T. Jackson. And I was like, yeah, I always wanted to do that, and people was like, man, what happened to him? He seen something. Them people came. It was more like he had a spiritual enlightenment, in other words. Um, he comes from a very spiritual family. His father was a television evangelist, a preacher, and mother. So they've always been business oriented, you know, going through faith and everything, but also business oriented. So in Detroit, they have, flourished and taught him to be spiritual, to have faith and how to use his faith in the right way. But let's go through his career. He has some bit pieces and roles, but role bounces when we really saw him, and he kind of like took over the film. His character stood out. We saw his character shine the most in the film, more than Bow Wow did. He was the one that was like comedy relief for the film, but he stood out. He got a response from the audience. So from that world, everybody's like, oh well, other things are gonna come, and you kind of didn't see him to like what was that? Like This Christmas. He was in This Christmas, I think, and he did a couple other like small movies. These were just starting out, but it wasn't until Tropic Thunder, which was a big motion picture with Ben Stiller and Robert Downey Jr. and all of these different, you know, people in there that A-list, guys flying in on private jets. This was the big time. He's made it. And he played this guy named Al Pacino. This supposed to be hardcore rapper who turns out in the end is gay and ends up with Lance Bass or something at the end of it. Now, this was coming on the heels, Tropic Thunder was coming on the heels where there were a lot of films in Hollywood who were only giving African American roles when they could be African American and the gay guy as well. So they were doing the two birds in one stone. But this movie escaped that criticism. Because one, it was a funny movie. You had Robert Downey Jr., who portrayed a black guy in the film, dressed up in blackface and was playing a black character in the fake movie that they were making. So as him being a method actor, he was in black mode the entire film. And no one attacked him for it. No one attacked this guy for it. And because no one attacked him, it was able to ride. It was funny. And it was like, well, if it's funny, you're not in trouble. It was a comedy. No one took it serious. But in today's time, it would have taken things to an entirely different level. Now, Brandon T. Jackson was, in our estimation, a person that, was just starting his career at this point. This is the point of him blowing up. He did The Day the Earth Stood Still with Keanu Reeves, I believe. I think he was in that one. He was in the Fast and the Furious movie for a minute when they brought that back. Big films. The Rock, the Tooth Fairy movie. And then he got the role in the Christopher Columbus film, the Peter Jackson. This was going to be his trilogy. This is going to be his thing to come on out. So after the first one did very well, thing was looking up for him. Then came some bad career choices, I think, as he was like looking for work at this time, just keeping busy, doing things, and then Lottery Ticket comes along. And another low budget movie, but it was with Bow Wow, reuniting him since his first movie, Roll Bounce. He plays Bow Wow's best friend. Then comes the big budget movie, Big Mama's House, Like Father, Like Son. Now, from what we were told, which is probably rumor, uh, what's his name? Jakar Washington, Jaskar Washington, the guy who played his son in part two, was being replaced by Brandon T. Jackson because they wanted an older, looking person who could play this role and get in makeup and get in a dress. And this is where the criticism started to come in. Everyone started criticizing Brandon T. Jackson for being a sellout. He's wearing a dress. Then they went back to Tropic Thunder. He played a black guy, played a homosexual. Is he homosexual? It was all coming down now in this film. And while they're promoting the show, Monique has him as a guest on the show. And she puts a dress in his locker room. And I always thought that was tacky. I really did. I thought that was tacky. Really tacky. I said, that's not even funny. Knowing what this guy's been going through and knowing the type of person he is, and if anybody would know, Monique would know better. But it was a cheap shot at Brandon T. Jackson. And for her to do that on her show, to leave a dress in his dressing room, was like kind of low down. So after that, he got another role in the Kevin Durant movie, Thunderstruck. Then he was back as Percy Jackson in The Sea of Monsters. And he was the best thing about the movies. And even though the second one didn't do well, it was like definitely not like the first one. They didn't nearly have the budget in place or the same crew. But that was going to be the end. There wasn't going to be a third. They were pulling the plug on Percy Jackson. Then all of these things started to happen. And people started to lose track of Brandon T. Jackson. Where's he been? Where did he go? I'm like, well, he did a couple of movies and that really didn't kind of go where they thought they were going to go. And after 2000, I would say 13, he started to work on himself and started to say, okay, do I want to have a brand or do I want to matter? Because what I'm doing right now, I'm just gonna be a guy that plays some roles and wait for the right project and whatever big movie come around, they grab me and I get the role and I'm that guy for the moment. Then I age out and they replace me with the other black up and coming actor and then I'm forgotten about. And at the time, you looked around Hollywood, you start seeing actors like Omar Epps. You start seeing actors like uh, Mekhi Phifer, and there were a lot more. Like there were others that were black and prominent who could act and couldn't get roles or couldn't get jobs anymore. And when you start looking around and seeing that, that's like, wait a minute, what's going on right now? None of the roles, all the companies in the game were starting to uh, evaporate as far as production companies. Nobody was spending money to even develop the small film anymore. It was all big budget, and it was the boom of the comic book movie era. Everybody had to have at least 3, 4 comic book movies. And DC was starting to get into the mix more, and they're going to start dropping 3 right along with Marvel. So the market was coming unsaturated, and everybody's getting movie roles, coming in, getting all the big projects. And then Brandon T. Jackson's looking around, and you're seeing Zac Efron get all these movie roles and top dollars. Then here comes Miles Teller. They have all these things designed for them. They get the Oscar type roles and move up the ladder, and then they try to make those guys comedians. And they're getting all the big money roles. And it's like, this isn't fair. On what level and what grounds is this fair to the other people that are out here working? Especially people of color. So he started to reevaluate his career, his direction, what he wanted to do in his life. He started to see how, African Americans were being treated in this country as far as this business. And Miles Keller, Anna Kendrick was all in the movie that had Brandon T. Jackson in it. That Get a Job, and that was in like 2016. Now Miles Teller and Anna Kendricks are considered the top list celebrities when it comes to getting a role. Anna, is in a higher demand, but Miles Teller was picked to be that guy. And Brandon had far vast more of a resume. But nevertheless, he picked the roles that he wanted to do, and he was able to, succeed and make it in his business doing what he wanted to do. In 2013, he filmed a pilot. He was going to play Eddie Murphy's son in the CBS film Beverly Hills Cop. Now, when Beverly Hills Cop was out and they did the pilot, it wasn't that the show wasn't good. They never aired it. Never got aired. They just said, you know what? We're going to just pull the plug on it. And I always felt because Brandon didn't sign on to, you know, move forward with the team that he had in place at that time. The agencies, and I think all of these things came into play. Like, he's moving in another direction. They knew it, and it wasn't in the form of the direction that they would like. He's more talking about uplifting African Americans to become business owners and not workers. When you start talking that kind of language, it's very hard. It's very hard for Hollywood or anyone else to take you seriously. But he didn't let that dominate him and say, you know what, I'm just going to pick the roles that I do, but I'm very passionate about the project. He's talked to black investors and he wasn't fearful of doing what he's doing. He does stand-up comedy, but he's free. He's still making money. That's what people don't understand. It's not always about the money. It's about purpose. For him, he wanted to do something that have a purpose. Whether it's acting, entertaining, he's like, I still can do that as long as people want to see me. And that's what's been happening. People have wanted to see him. And they're like, look, we like this guy. We want to keep him around. We like having him. So he's still doing stand-up shows right now today. When he wants to, he's going to open up some coffee shops if he haven't opened them up already. And he wants to open up a lot of black businesses, black-owned businesses. It's time. So I applaud him for everything he's doing. He's not letting someone else dictate to him what should be done or how it should be done and things of that nature. He's making the decisions himself. So, you know, well, anyway, as you can tell, I'm still battling this cold. But please, if you all get the chance to donate to the page or hit the super chat button, just click the link in the description box, leave a message. Same way that's how this video basically got made. Guys made donations and wanted to see this video made, so it's done. Hopefully this is done to the approval of your likings. And I'm out.